For more, let's bring in CBS News' Tina Kraus, who's on the ground in Tel Aviv. Tina, bring us up to date on what you're seeing and hearing this evening.
Catherine, well, we're hearing a lot more from Hamas, at least we did today, in the form of rockets. We heard many more air raid sirens, not just in southern Israel, but up north here in Tel Aviv. We saw quite a large barrage of rockets sent over this afternoon from Gaza, and one of those got through Israel's Iron Dome defense system. It hit a residential building in South Tel Aviv, injuring 4 people. So there's quite a bit of anxiety on the ground here. Several people I talked to tonight, Israelis, told me they thought the ground invasion was coming soon, and most of them saying they want the IDF to go in there, destroy Hamas, to keep Israelis safe in the future.
Talk to us more about what seems to be a significant development here, which is the cutting off of communications networks in Gaza and how that's an indicator of this accelerated military activity.
Yeah, I mean, all of Gaza dipped into blackness tonight. Of course, a strategy for the military that gives them battlefield superiority in the sense that if they cut off Hamas's communications, but they have their own comms on the ground and they can go in there at night with their night vision equipment, then, you know, no comms for Hamas means no command structure. And so in that regard, it's a good strategy. But already aid officials are saying, you know, this is a horrible thing because anyone who's injured in airstrikes overnight won't be able to get ambulances, won't be able to get care, and they're already having trouble getting in touch with people for aid. So, of course, humanitarian aid, a huge issue in the Gaza Strip right now.
Let's take that discussion of the humanitarian crisis a step further. Otherwise, we would not have a balanced picture as we're reporting this evening. Has the IDF been able to effectively set up humanitarian corridors? And it sounds like they have not been successful providing aid to the civilians who remain in Gaza.
No, not yet. I mean, the White House said today that they were up to 84 trucks that had made their way through that Rafah border crossing, which is the crossing between Egypt into Gaza. 84 trucks. Normally, before this conflict started, we were seeing about 500 trucks a day rolling into Gaza with food, water, medicine, supplies for Palestinians who were already in a humanitarian crisis then. So now it becomes a much bigger issue. And the UN saying they're hearing people screaming at night, fighting over pieces of bread, people starving to death. So the U.S. also said today, and this is important, that they do support a pause in Israeli operations if this means that a humanitarian corridor can open up to get food and get aid in. And I think that will have to happen in the coming hours or days.
Tina Kraus, thank you for your reporting in Tel Aviv. The Gaza Health Ministry says more than 7,000 Palestinians have been killed and nearly 19,000 injured since the war began. For more on how the expanded ground activity will impact civilians, let's turn now to Khaled Elgindy. He's a senior fellow and director of the program on Palestine and Palestinian-Israeli affairs at the MEI, or Middle East Institute. So let's talk about the hard questions here. How are these increased incursions into Gaza affecting the civilian population?
Well, I think the ground invasion marks a very, very dangerous escalation in an already disastrous situation for the 2.2 million Palestinians who live in Gaza. The report mentioned that Israel is not facilitating humanitarian assistance. It's not just a question of Israel's not facilitating. Israel is actively preventing. If you remember, immediately after the Hamas attacks on October 7th, Israel imposed a complete siege, cutting off all water, food, fuel, medicine into the Gaza Strip for the entire population. And so Israel has been using starvation and the mass suffering of the civilian population as a weapon in its war against Hamas. We're seeing an escalation of that now with the complete communications blackout. So the Israelis are sort of notching up the pressure, not just on Hamas, but on the entire population, all while there hasn't been a single moment of respite in terms of the aerial bombardment for the past 20 days. So I think it's important to bear that in mind.
But I want to take that a step further, because it is a standard military tactic or strategy to try and starve out your enemy, deny them food, deny them water, deny them effective sanitation to weaken them. The challenge here is, what I'm hearing you say, is that you have the intermingling of Hamas militants with the civilian population. So you can't kind of sift between the two, right? Or no?
No, that's not correct. It is not an accepted form of warfare that you starve an entire population in order to weaken your enemies who are armed. That is not an acceptable form of warfare. In fact, it is a very serious war crime. And when the Russians did it in the Ukraine, there was an international outcry. And we're talking about a very, very small area. So when we say, it's very dangerous when we talk about Hamas intermingling with the population. This is one of the most densely populated areas in the world. There is no place to go except densely populated urban areas. The reality is human rights defenders have repeatedly expressed alarm. In fact, according to Amnesty International, Israel has shown a shocking lack of regard for civilian life throughout this conflict. So it's not incidental. The civilian suffering in Gaza is part of Israel's war strategy.
But by design is what you're saying.
Oh, precisely. And that is, in fact, Israel's war doctrine. It is designed to be overwhelmingly disproportionate in order to deter any future activities. And we're seeing the reality of that on the ground. 7,300 killed, 3,000 of them are children in 20 days. And we're only just at the beginning of this operation. The ground offensive is going to be far more costly in Palestinian civilian lives.
I mean, that's one of the lessons of war, isn't it? That it always takes longer and costs you more than you ever anticipate. In the early 2000s, you advised the Palestinian leadership in negotiations with Israel. Based on those interactions, what steps do you expect Israel to take in the coming days and weeks?
Well, I think Israel has historically preferred a military option to deal with what are essentially political issues. The blockade on Gaza, for example, over the past 16 years has been designed, again, to induce a humanitarian crisis. And it has been quite unstable as a result. But Israel would rather deal with Gaza as a security matter or a humanitarian matter rather than deal with the underlying causes of the issue, which are political. And then that is ending a 56-year-old military occupation, allowing Palestinians to have the same rights as all humans are entitled to, the right to freedom and self-determination. And so the odds of Israel pursuing anything along the lines of a political settlement are probably less than zero at this point, because they have a green light from the United States and most of the Western Europe to pursue a basically unchecked military campaign that will, in the long term, only produce more bloodshed and more violence and instability down the road, because it's just avoiding the central issues while at the same time immiserating an entire population.
Khaled Elgindy, thank you so much for your analysis and perspective this evening.
Thanks.